Welcome to the Excel Purpose Show with Karms Fung. Today we have Valerie Beck, a vitality and visionary coach. She's going to help us dream big. Welcome.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. So glad to be here with you, Karms.
It's so good to see you again after meeting you overseas. I'm very excited for this because I know you've got a big journey that you went through. So I haven't heard of it yet because we did a podcast together. So you know a lot more about me than I know about you. So we're turning the table around.
Oh my gosh. Our journey actually has a lot of parallels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do I get to tell my story today?
Oh
Is that
yeah, totally.
okay?
Do you want to hit us with it with a quick nutshell? Going from
Okay.
so I know based on what I know of you, I know you're really big on talking about burnout. So that must mean
Yeah.
you've gone through this thing that a lot of people is going through and don't
Yeah.
know how to like gain the energy and the alignment.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what's your background in terms of what did you study? What was life like for you? Were you working in the office? Were you working a really stressful job? And then what led you into diving into, oh, I need alignment?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So it's been a very winding road and all of it has mattered. So I will start kind of from the beginning because when I said that our paths have a lot of parallels, they also have a lot of major differences, and it makes for a very interesting story. So I grew up in New York in the States. My parents are from Taiwan, so I'm the child of immigrants. And they moved to the States because, I mean, for better economic opportunity, as so many of us do. At least back then, America was like the place where you go. And so they decided to raise a family in New York. And so I grew up in a high achieving environment. It was never a enforced rule. It was just kind of like an unspoken culture. Except when it came to Chinese school. They were very strict about that. But otherwise, it was like follow your dreams. But like with the undertone of like, I think there was this pressure to really perform very well. And so I grew up just accepting all of that. I had really high grades. Was in the orchestra and I did all these things, got into a really good school. So I ended up going to Northwestern and I studied human development and psychological services
Mm.
with a minor in Japanese. Now, those are not very like, it wasn't about the career, actually. For some reason, my parents didn't really tell me to pursue a career. They were just like, do what is interesting. And
Wow.
so it
That's
was very
super
unusual.
interesting for a Asian culture, especially having moved to the big city. Like New York is a big deal. Like I
Yeah.
imagine at that time, not that many people really had the opportunity to do that. And to get over there, then let you just like pursue your dream. That's that's a very cool perspective. I don't
It
think.
is, and I don't know how intentional it was, but my father is like PhD in mechanical engineering, like yeah, you couldn't get more Asian. My mother had I think it was a bachelor's in pharmacy, but then ended up becoming a computer programmer.
Oh wow, they're
So
very educated.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think growing up, maybe the idea was that like they did the hard thing.
Yeah.
So now we can just kind of do what we want.
Got it.
And
That's
everything
beautiful.
else would be provided for. So, I think at first it was kind of all pretty rosy. But then once I hit college then and I got through, I ended up choosing to go to Japan for 3 years.
Why Japan?
And yeah, so I got into the JET program, which is the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. It's sponsored by the Japanese government. And they put you in a random place in Japan and you teach alongside Japanese teachers. And so I ended up staying in Japan for 3 years. And um, there is this culture within the program that every situation is different, and you get kind of just thrown into a pool of randomness,
Yeah.
and you have to figure it out. So my first ever job, like real job, was this job that I kind of had to figure out what to do. There wasn't very strict rules. Like yes, I had a schedule of classes I needed to go teach, but a lot of it was just figuring it out on the go, and literally the teachers alongside me figuring it out on the go.
So you're
And
teaching English, yeah?
yes, I was teaching English in 6 schools in a rural countryside in Japan. Um, and so there was always like there's always been this huge sense of freedom in my life, to be honest, and privilege actually, because I think up until that point, like my parents provided for me, and
Mm.
then like I was working this job that also provided for me,
Yeah.
and so like it wasn't terribly hard, I would say, but then I decided after those 3 years to go back to the States, and I decided to go get my master's. And there was something that really shifted at the time. Um, and I think it was a combination of reverse culture shock, and then my grad program turned out to be really just not aligned with my values. And this kind of like facade of what is good, what is successful, what is effective in the world kind of just like shattered.
What did you think success was?
I don't, so I think I blindly was following, you go to college, you get a good job, you get married, have kids, take care of your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How far off that script did you get to? Are you married?
I am married. Uh,
So
so
you did
here's
the
where it
whole,
gets
so you
really,
did the whole script, right?
yeah. So here's where it gets wonky
Okay.
because I got really depressed while I was in New York doing my master's. In Japan, I was also learning hip hop dance on the
That's out
side.
of the script. Hip hop dance is not.
So when I got back to New York, the only thing really keeping me happy was going to clubs and going to street sessions and
New
dancing
York
hip
does
hop
have
on the
that
street.
vibe. New
Yeah.
York does have that vibe though. Okay, that's cool.
So I fell into this street culture. I learned so much about underserved communities and minorities and all this. I mean, I was a minority anyway, but just like a different perspective of people who grew up with less privilege than me. And then I kind of just got immersed in this and seeing like how other people live, and how you can be happy in so many different contexts or unhappy in different contexts. And I
Mm.
really started to question everything. It's like, what is all this for? Because actually, my grad program, one of the most disturbing things about it was all about, it was an international education at New York University, and it was all about um, bringing the American education system to underserved or developing countries for those countries to adopt. And it was very much an imperialistic um, approach to things that I didn't agree with. So yeah, just kind of like all of these paradigms that were really challenging me at the same time. So I decided after I got my master's to pack everything up and go to LA and drop everything in dance.
Okay.
Um, and that's when I broke the script. So I decided not to do a 9 to 5 anymore. Actually, I lived in a dance studio for the first couple of months.
So what was your 9 to 5 at this point?
It was from teaching to masters until to just nothing.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you
Um,
moved to LA.
I moved to LA and I became a professional hip hop dancer for 2 years.
Oh, was your parents supportive of this?
No, but I also, they didn't stop me.
Okay.
There was no like sit down with Valerie and talk about this kind of thing. Very interestingly. Um,
So they're
they were
not
just
all
like, okay,
happy with it, but they're okay with it at the same time because they're not yelling at you or anything like
no,
that. Okay.
no, there was a lot more like passive aggressive throughout the years, but I'll
Right.
get to this
Like
point
like
where
an
it's okay.
undertone.
Yeah, so And it gets interesting because after this hip hop era, there was another era. So, um, yeah, I spent 2 years trying to figure out what is it that is going to fulfill my soul and allow me to have a purpose on this life that I feel is aligned with my values. Because after witnessing so much of what I had witnessed, I just didn't feel like the approach that academic America was taking was right. I felt like a lot of the systems that I was brought up in were very manipulative, and I just didn't want to be a part of that.
Could you make
So,
a decent living street dancing?
no, I
Okay.
did not. And that was a huge part. Okay. I mean, we're going to go in so many different directions with this, because uh, I didn't have the drive to be like, I'm going to make as much money as possible because that wasn't the pain point growing up,
Right.
you know? It was all about like I gotta find alignment and I'm gonna try to survive as I do it. Um, I did make a living, like in the 2 years I was able to pretty much support myself. Um, but at the same time, it was very shoestring, like always on the edge, on the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've learned along the way is that because I was brought up to see achievement as value, when I stopped achieving in the way that I thought was value, my self-worth also crashed. So I think unconsciously, when I was doing all of this, I was also beating myself up about it.
Okay. Wait. So
Um, yeah,
I'm just so I'm following you.
yeah.
You're when you're doing the dancing, did you feel like that's achievement or not? Because I can't tell. Like I don't want to assume.
I don't think it was achievement. I think it
Or you didn't
was,
feel like it aligned with you. Is that what you're saying?
no, the dancing definitely aligned. I was obsessed with it. Like I would be in multiple dance classes a day. I would practice in front of my mirror at night. It was more of like I was searching for meaning and I was searching for something deeper. The way that you would meditate to find that. Dance was kind of like meditation. And I did find it actually. There was a point, I think it was in New York, where it was, I was like at a nightclub actually. And I unlocked the like, the best way I could describe this is the power of like instant creation.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're taught choreography in dance classes. You're taught how to imitate the teacher. You're not really taught how to create movement from your body instantaneously, but you can unlock that eventually. And I did. It was very, very powerful. And so I was like, I have this superpower. I have this superpower now where I can inspire through movement. I can express myself in a way that I couldn't before. And it's I don't think any amount of money or recognition I would be willing to give this up.
Right. Because self-expression is what we're really here to do.
Yeah, self-expression, authentic self-expression is what we're really here to do. I unlocked it through dance.
Okay, so what was the
And
problem with that?
well, the problem with it was I wasn't actually making enough money to eat, right? Or
Right.
like to really grow beyond a certain level of subsistence.
Okay.
That was the problem.
So where did that take you to?
Yeah. So eventually, there was this underlying low self-worth because I wasn't making money,
Which is
right?
required in this material world.
It is
Yeah.
required in this material world, and I was trying to survive without it. I was really trying very, very hard to survive without it because this is not what actually does the thing. But you need it. You need it to, and then like if you actually want to go beyond and not always be at the charity of other people, you do need a level of being able to support yourself.
Yeah.
So what happened next is that I actually burnt out from dancing. The thing that was
Wow, getting
sustaining,
burnt out from thing that you
yeah,
love.
yes, it sucks. It really does, because then it's like the one thing that you thought brought your life meaning, all of a sudden, like you can't sustain it anymore. That's where I was at. And you know, I think at the time also I was not surrounded by a lot of supportive people. Um, a lot of dancers give up their livelihood to be able to dance. That's just the reality of it. So they're not in a good mental space either, a lot of them. So, you know, there are just people who like would take advantage of you easily. And then also like their, you know, dance studios don't pay a lot. Oh, there's so much stuff, right?
Yeah.
But
Okay. So this is actually falling into the typical what people's social idea of like, okay, they don't want to be a broke artist. That's why they would do
yeah.
a job that pays decent, because that seems like a better bucket to be in than chasing for something you love and not be able to make money from it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you burn out from even though you found the thing that you enjoy. So now you're forced to go make money. What did you end up doing?
Yeah. So, you know, this is like I still didn't have that like, okay, I need to make a lot of money. That was still not the thing. I was like, I'm still very like I don't know what to do with my life. So I was about to turn 30. And I sold all of my stuff, which wasn't a lot of it, and I moved to New Zealand for a working holiday. For 5 months, I worked at a printing factory and a parkour gym. And the parkour gym was for fun, to be honest. I wasn't expecting them to pay me, but they did. And I had to relearn what it meant to make a living. Because the printing factory, like nobody would take that job and be like, that's my purpose, right?
Yeah, it's just you
Yeah,
do it
you
for the
just do
sake of
it.
money. Yeah, yeah, for the paycheck.
And so I did. I did that, and it was really liberating. It was really liberating. Um, because I could live my life, have fun, um, get my paycheck, pay for my rent, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but you know, the universe is not done teaching me lessons about this yet. So, I got this job, like a listing in the email for this job back in LA, that would be some kind of like educational director for a tour guide, like a tour company bringing people from the US to Japan. And it really aligned with my skill set, my experiences, and all of that. I got the interview, they flew me back to LA, and I started that job full time. So I was working full time as essentially a tour guide for about 2 years. And I was traveling from Japan, from LA to Japan, taking people on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I did make a living off of that, not a big one. Um, but again, so things started to creep up on me again, whereas like this feels really meaningless. I don't know why I'm doing it anymore. I'm really tired. In the background of all of this, I started not being able to have like healthy relationships, like not finding a good partner, finding people who are actually really toxic partners. And systemically in my life, things just seemed really wrong or off.
When you say toxic, what does that mean?
So like people who basically I got fell into hookup culture, and people not wanting to invest in long-term relationships. I really couldn't find anyone who wanted to invest in a relationship with me long term.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to really look at myself and be like, because there were the common denominator of all of these problems was me, right? Not being able to hold a relationship, not having a decent job that aligned, all of this stuff. I was like, why is it that my life isn't working? I have 2 master's degrees. I had this like cool background in dance. Why is it that nobody wants to pay me any money? And I had to really look at myself because it was not working. I was, yeah, I just felt like the world was taking advantage of me and I didn't know why. And I felt like everything that I had done to try to make meaning was backfiring on me. So like,
Mhm.
why is that? Like, if I'm putting in the effort to make a life of meaning, why is the universe not supporting this? So that's where we get to the Vipassana energy.
Awesome. How did you find out about Vipassana?
So my flatmate in New Zealand, while I was staying there, she attempted one. She made it through 3 days and left. She ran away and came back to her flat. But I was,
So
you know,
she left and you thought, oh, that's a good idea. I can make it through 10 days.
yeah. Well, I was like, okay, if I really want to heal, let me see if I can do this. Let me see, like, because I was like, I should go on a yoga retreat or a meditation retreat, but it's like,
Oh, you took
this
it
is
on the
not
chin.
about luxury for me.
Yeah,
This is
no.
about real work, right?
Yeah.
So of course I was like, I'm gonna do the Vipassana where you can't talk to anyone, you can't look at anyone in the eye for 10 days. I was like, this is real. I'm gonna see what this can do for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strip to the basic, literally only have the essential and yourself.
Yeah.
So how was that like for you?
I mean, it got me back to baseline. It got me back to a place where my nervous system wasn't like, you just suck
Were you
and like
familiar
everything is
with
wrong.
meditation before you went into Vipassana?
No, I wasn't very spiritual. I wasn't very attuned. Like the only spirituality that I really had was my dance.
Okay, so what was day one like for you?
I think day one, it was just like, okay, I, I was such an overthinker. I would overthink everything. I was deeply depressed at the time. So I think just having some quiet was actually very relieving. And to just like kind of sit there in silence was very relieving. Um, and I remember that the running thoughts took a few days to stop.
That is so interesting that you found it relieving. So were you weren't bored. You were like pretty you were content sitting there, like you were cool with it. Like comfortable.
Yeah, because I had work to do. I had a lot of work to do.
That's that's interesting to hear because it's so different than my experience, which was it felt like suffering to me. So okay, so it was relaxing for you for the first few days. And the listener, if you're not aware for Vipassana, it's like you got to sit there for about 10 hours each day doing meditation. So yeah, it's a lot of work. So okay, and how did you feel progressing to it?
So I would say the most painful part of it was actually the physical pain.
Yeah,
It was
tell us
it just
about the physical pain. I want to hear it.
yeah. So because you have to sit there for hours at a time and like my hips hurt. Like I had like bolsters all over supporting my knees and supporting everything. I was like, what is this? Like it's torturous. But I was like, I have to do this. Like I really was like, I'm gonna get through this. I don't care. Like this is gonna be I have to see this through to the end. There's no way I'm stopping. Um, so that's what I did. I just like put bolsters up and sat there. Um, I'm not like I said, I'm not very sensitive to like the messages of the universe per se. Like I'm not one of those people who has like visions and downloads. I don't have that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So you sat there, you get through this with willpower, and
Yeah.
then did you just get through the whole thing without any? What did you learn?
What did I learn? Um, so there was a word, equanimity,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
And just this ability to receive lessons from what's in front of you, to really understand that life is going to bring you challenges. Your job is not to necessarily um, try to fix yourself because of these challenges. What it really is like it's signaling to you where you may be um, resisting a deeper lesson that needs to be learned. And oftentimes it is about self-worth. It's about really understanding that like you being born here is not a mistake. And that like so much of my suffering came from me not believing that.
What made the switch? Do you believe it now?
I do. It took it, that wasn't the end of it though. Like after Vipassana, I still had to learn that lesson over and over again. Um,
I
there
think
was, I did
self-worth is
yo,
something people really suffer on, or
yes.
yes. So
And it's horrible.
tell us
Yeah.
the steps.
So I actually, so after I did the Vipassana, I decided to quit my travel job. I was still in it for a couple of months. And then I decided to enroll. I started doing yoga every day, every morning around 5:30 a.m. And then eventually I enrolled in holistic medicine school. And in the beginning of that training, I did something called the Yoga Nidra teacher training. And in that yoga nidra teacher training, we did yoga nidra multiple times a day, which is literally, it means that you lay down and you listen to a guided voice help you relax your body for an hour. And then you visualize like what it is that you want to create for your life. In a nutshell, that's what it is. Okay, so there's this lesson that has been taught to me over time in various forms called the whole perfect and complete lesson. I've learned it in yoga nidra, I learned it in meditation, I've learned it in Ayurveda, and I've learned it in like leadership programs, actually.
Amazing. So you see the
And
crossover in all these. What is it?
yes, so the idea of whole, perfect, and complete is that you are always whole, perfect, and complete now. It's not something you work towards. It's not something like you aspire to, and it's not something you fix yourself for. You always have access to you being whole, perfect, and complete now. This is really hard to grasp if you don't know what it actually feels like embodied.
Yeah, break it down
But
for us. How do you see that? I know what you're talking about. I think most people won't. Um,
yeah,
if they're thinking, no, I don't see how I'm whole and
yeah, I know
right,
because there's
perfect,
so,
then
yeah,
where's the nuance? Walk us through that. How do we
yeah,
see that lens?
right. And I understand because like it took me a long time to understand this. And it has to come from a nervous system. It actually can't come from intellectual understanding, which is why most people are going to struggle with this. Um, but after doing like the third round of yoga nidra I did for that day, there was all of a sudden, it was like my body like gave a sigh. It was like my nervous system was out of fight or flight and it wasn't in freeze. And it was like everything is good right here, right now. And then I could see in my life all of the things that I was doing that where my actions were not aligned to that belief. So, for example, I was doing this leadership program where even though I should have been focusing more on maybe making more money or just like going out and socializing, and it doesn't matter. But instead I was spending time at this leadership like it's kind of a cult where like every day I was showing up because I wanted to fix myself and spending all this time in like this like corporate very sterile office and it like had nothing to do with what I wanted to do with my life and I was like the only reason I was going there was because I thought I needed to be there in order to be successful and I was like this is so extra. This is so not in alignment with who I am, the type of life I want to have. I'm just doing it because I didn't believe in whole, perfect, and complete. And all of my life, I have had trouble saying no to authority. And because, like, I thought authority would guide me well, and that, like, if I just listened to what they did, uh, everything would be taken care of for me. And that was not the case at all. Actually, I was learning. And I had to learn to be able to say, look, I need to put my needs first and all of that because it's not about becoming better to earn the worth. I just have to stand in it now. So I hope that made sense.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting that you say it in that way, because I wouldn't have thought you would have felt that you've been listening to authority this whole time. When you did like dancing and went like to New Zealand, to do, like, they're not things that authority tells you to do, yet you
Yeah.
still had that view that you weren't doing
Yes.
the thing you wanted to do, even though you
So
had
there's
freedom already.
Yeah, so there's a paradox here because I was literally doing so much of like I had so much freedom on one hand that was given to me, it was granted to me. Like no one was stopping me. And then I had the voice in my own head that was like, you're a horrible person for doing all of this.
Okay. Yes. You felt like you're a horrible person for doing this because do you feel like you owe your parents to be something, or why do you feel like a horrible person for doing this?
You know what? I think it might have been the social conditioning, like a combination of things. Maybe it was that my parents, because I was surrounded by Asians also growing up in high school with a lot of immigrant parents too. The narrative was always that you respect your elders and your parents and like you go get a good job and all of this. I didn't do it. So I think there was always in the back of my mind was like, you failed.
Oh, so the right. So when you say you're listening to authorities, like in action you didn't, but in your head you did. You were still pushing yourself down as a result, right?
Yeah, and I actually uh the reason why I have so many certifications and I would say degrees. So I have two higher degrees, right? I have two certifications in holistic medicine plus massage therapy, etc. Only reason I have so many of those is like I have to keep going and getting the next one, maybe the next one people will pay me more, or the next one I will be recognized as successful, or in the next one like I will earn that status. Never came. Um, and I was like, what is this compulsion that I have towards like trying to earn my worth?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what people chase as well. Like they think, okay,
yeah,
that certificate's gonna make me more money in the same way
yeah,
that I'm like, hey, getting that MBA is gonna make me more money. It's like,
yeah,
okay, it doesn't. So when that penny dropped, how did you lift your self-worth?
yeah,
Or did it just do it because when the penny dropped, it's like it just automatically does it?
yeah. So the whole perfect and complete, right? I
Mhm.
think that it's really important. That was a very like life-changing moment for me, and it's a lesson that needs to be kind of reinforced throughout life. You can't just learn it once.
For the listeners, what's the steps? Like, are you able to put it into like say three simple steps where they can
Yeah,
begin? So right now, if you imagine they are someone that's okay, not having enough self-worth, doubting myself, what's the simple step that they can do right now to move towards feeling their whole, perfect, and complete?
okay, great. So this is where we get into my area of expertise, which is Ayurvedic medicine and the whole vitality and vision thing. Your your physical body is like it's where everything starts. And the reason I went into holistic medicine specifically Ayurvedic medicine is because the definition for perfect health is this term swastha in Sanskrit, which means to be established in the self, which literally you can interpret that as self-esteem. So perfect health is linked very highly to this concept of being established in yourself, like really respecting yourself and really like seeing that you are a vessel to be taken care of. So, whole, perfect, and complete, if at the very, very basic of it, you start by literally acknowledging that your body is a vessel to be taken care of. And for a lot of people,
A
even that
vessel to
can be a
be
challenge.
taken care of because there is a higher being that is doing it all the time for us.
It's a vessel to be taken care of. Like, how else are you going to pursue your purpose, have a life if the body that you're in is not taken care of? So
Okay,
the
so
thing
it
that we
means
see, Mhm.
self-responsibility. We are
It
taking care
does.
of the body. Like,
Yes.
okay, got it. All
Yeah.
right. So first take
So
care of your actual body. Like we're given
first
this
take care of your
physical
body.
body, look after it. Feed it what it needs.
Exactly, but
Okay.
you would be surprised at how difficult that is, right? Especially if you like, let's say you work a corporate job that like has you working overtime, and then like, you
Yeah, I'm missing
uh
lunch. I'm not going to a
yeah,
bathroom because I've gone from meeting to meeting. Yeah, we're not looking. Okay, so looking after our body is the first step.
basic stuff,
Right. What's
right?
what's the next step?
Yeah. The next step I would say is then taking a look at your habits and your beliefs and seeing if they are in alignment. So it's our beliefs create our behaviors, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And so it's like also our behaviors then also reinforce our beliefs back. If you want to become a person that has like self-esteem, love, and is like has purpose, you need to take the actions that reflect that. And if you don't already have the beliefs of someone who does that, if you don't believe that you're whole, perfect, and complete, for example, first then take the actions that would reinforce that, right? In Ayurveda, there's a practice of self massage. It's called Abhyanga. And I recommend that to my patients who struggle with this because you're rubbing your body physically as a practice to be like, look, like we're caring for
How
ourselves
long do you
here.
do this for?
It's just like 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how
Like, are
much
you
time.
touching yourself everywhere or is it like certain parts?
Yeah, and it's with oil, by the way. So it's so oil is a substance used in Ayurveda a lot, but it's a lubrication. But oil also has this double meaning in Ayurveda because the word for it is sneha, and sneha also means love. So literally, when you're rubbing oil on yourself, it's also kind of this act of self-love.
Is
And
it
so
a
we build.
particular kind of oil? Or
So traditionally sesame oil has been used, but you could use coconut oil, you can use almond oil. Um, it's really great also like hormonally for women to do this actually can be very soothing, and because oil once it absorbs into the body too can be very nourishing. So like you're activating like these hormones that are going to relax your body. So physiologically speaking, it's also really great.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like just having habits that reinforce this idea that you are someone to be taken care of, that like reinforces whole, perfect, and complete on a physical level.
Okay. So we should
Yeah.
do an assessment on the habits. And that's important, right? Like, because normally we're just going through the motions of life and we're not actually pausing to go, hmm, these are things I actually even want to do to get to the life that I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that brings me, I guess, to the final step. If I were to recommend three today,
Yeah.
it is, um, well, yeah, this is what I'll say. Take an inventory of your values. So if you really want to know what your purpose is, if you want to have meaning, uh, start to look at what are your beliefs about how life should be? What are your values? And then see if those are values that someone chose for you, or are they values that you truly want to embody?
What's your values now?
No. Yeah. I actually did an inventory this morning. So I'm looking at a couple of fresh new values, but Authenticity is definitely up there. Being
Mm,
able to show up as your authentic self with integrity, meaning like you don't hide yourself if you feel like, if you're feeling that pressure to fit in, to stay in integrity with who you are, regardless of the situation. Also, part of that is that I also believe that if we were all able to live authentically as ourselves, we would have a lot more inner harmony and peace, and therefore also a lot of compassion outwards and a lot more ability to live in harmony with other people. Because then we accept who we are, we're able to accept others more.
I think when people are doing the thing that they feel inauthentic, they're not necessarily realizing that that is a society's voice or a parent's voice. Do you have any suggestion on how they make that distinction to even go, oh yeah, now I'm living authentic? What's the
Yeah.
check-in they should do?
I think it always starts with acknowledging where you're suffering.
Acknowledging
Like
where you're suffering.
where do you feel pain
Mm-hmm.
emotionally or physically?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you are able to acknowledge, that's the first step, honestly, is like acknowledge where you're feeling pain and dissonance. Because it's either going to be something that needs to be healed physically or mentally, right? Um,
So don't
Dissonance,
dismiss the pain, because I think that
yeah,
that's a yeah, that's a good advice. Like we'll feel the pain and go, eh, that's what you do. You just keep going.
that's just what you
Right. So
do.
don't dismiss it.
No, and if I think back to your story of like there was a pain that you were running away from, um, by pursuing a job that, earns you a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But then it turned out to be kind of just like, what was all of this
We're on the flip
for?
side of each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are on the flip side. Yeah, life is very interesting. But yeah, it's just like looking at that pain is like, okay, there's something out of integrity and it's probably a value. So what is the value that I actually want to embrace? Because it's probably being buried under this like I should do something. I should. Um, yeah.
You know what's interesting? I think if the listeners took both our stories and found the middle ground, that's the way. So we
Yeah.
both went the one of the extreme, right? It's like
Yes.
I recognize really because both of these things are important. That's the thing. It's not like it's right or wrong. That's
Yeah.
why people take different paths to really eventually, hopefully, in this life, actually get to the path that they want to walk. Or if you believe it, it's like that's your mission, that's your vision, that's your purpose. um there's different path, and for me it's just like, okay, I realize money is something um valuable that's needed in this world, and I would see this because I lacked it early on, whereas
Mhm.
you were in an environment where that wasn't the case. Like you were supported, you had that, so you had the freedom to choose earlier. So because of this environment that we're in, we naturally will go, oh, okay, well, this thing is important. Or, and then you saw something else is important. And then so we took these, the two opposing path, only to really come back to, it's like, no, it's not like money doesn't matter. Or it's like, it's not like doing your own thing and finding your passion doesn't matter. It's like, they both matter. They both matter because we live in a material world where we have to provide our essential thing. That's why you found it liberating when you had the paycheck and you could pay rent,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think the quickest way is like, okay, work the job you need to make enough money that you can meet the basic essential needs. And that goes with what you say, because you got to feed the body, right? You got to have the safe roof, the nutritional food, and it requires the funds to do that. Right, not
Yes.
couch surfing and relying on am I going to get the next meal somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So once they do this, once they okay, they take care of their body because they have enough funds, money to do this, to look
Yeah.
after themselves. Then they're looking at their behavior and habits. And for you, it's like hookup culture is not great. And that's like a relatively common thing, I think, nowadays. It seems relationship is a little bit more on a whole, a bit more fleeting, a bit more superficial, probably because of apps and all sorts of things that's available to us.
Mhm.
If someone is in this and they want to feel more self-worth, what did you switch in this area?
So with regards to dating, right? And
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
big portion of self-love.
Um, okay. This is literally another moment where I was like, what? I didn't ever think about it this way. So I talk about all these leadership programs I was in, and I was in front of a group of like, I don't know how many people, must have been like 100. And I was crying because like I like couldn't figure it out. Like the guy that I wanted to date like was didn't want to date me. And uh one of the audience members is like, it just sounds like he's not that into you. Maybe you should just move on. And it never occurred to me that I didn't have to fight for it. As a basic and a obvious as that might sound to somebody, for someone who really struggles with self-worth, that doesn't seem like an option at first. It's always about having to earn your worth. It's always about having to earn whatever it is that you want. It's never like you never take it for granted, which is like, okay, like that's nice in some ways because you have a good work ethic. But on the other hand, like, when do you stop?
Mm.
When does it become like you're actually abusing yourself because you're keeping yourself in a situation that's not healthy? And I was at a point where like that was the case. I just like I couldn't recognize when um it wasn't that I there was something wrong with me. It was just a situation where that was not going to happen. Um Once I understood that, once I understood that I could have standards and I could have values and I can actually ask for what I wanted as opposed to just wait for it to fall in my lap, which it wasn't going to happen. Um, Almost miraculously, like I think it was a couple of weeks later, I found my husband.
Wow.
Yeah,
What shift? What was the shift? Like, if there's a piece of wisdom you can give to someone that felt like
yeah.
that.
And I want to say it's never a miracle. Like that sounds like, yeah, like you hear all these stories of like, oh, a couple of weeks later, I met my partner. It's not a
Yeah.
miracle. It's actually you shift the way that you interact with the world, right? You're you start it, and these are subtle things. It's like, you no longer make yourself available to certain situations. So like I know I was never on dating apps. So let's say like
Mm.
people on dating apps, all of a sudden they just kind of drop off and they start going to a different place, like maybe looking for, and it's a subconscious switch, but all of a sudden, and you could be carrying yourself differently. Like, I'm not going to tolerate like this type of person anymore. You start to embody that almost immediately if you actually have understood it. So maybe the way that you dress is different, maybe the way that you speak is different, and all on a very, very subtle level. But that subtle level energetically is what attracts something different to you.
Beautiful. So
Yeah.
they need to work on uplifting their vibrational energy.
Doesn't that sound really woo-woo?
Yeah.
um,
No, I
it's
yes and no.
yeah,
But that's real, right? Like that's what we're
it's
really saying.
yeah, and that's the best way I could say it without like that's why I say it's not a miracle. It's actually like there are reinforcements that happen. This is why people say like you need to do affirmations. This is why like people say like you need to journal. All of these things are compounding habits. It's not a magical switch. It's a reinforcement of a way of being. And from there, then uh external things start to shift.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah.
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 So I like that in the three steps um we said it in like a pretty logical way, right? Because we said it was like review your habits and
Mhm.
beliefs, right? But this is a conscious thing. And when you do this, it actually naturally will affect the underlying thing that actually makes the difference is really the vibrational energy change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like it when I describe this to myself or other people, right? Like starting with the energy change
Yeah.
can does sound really woo. I'll say it straight up, like, oh, just change your vibration.
Yeah.
But it is actually what's really important.
Yes.
Because if you're not in the state of like, I am worth being taken care of, there's you're not going to eat the healthier food.
Uh-huh. Yes. Right.
So,
And we will see that if we look into a day and then we're like, okay, yeah, we love ourselves, we think we were perfect and whole, and then when it comes to the next meal, and then we're just like fried chicken and some grease thing that looks tasty, melting with cheese or something, and then on the other side there's like whole food, fresh organic produce, and it's like, which one would you learn? I'll take the fried chicken, and it's like, bow down. You
yeah,
just broke the first step, which is like taking care of your body, right?
exactly.
And then the habit is like, okay, that's right. You may have done it yesterday, but what's the habit? Are you continuously going to pick the fried chicken over that organic meal? It's like, well, if you're continuously doing that, you're breaking two as well now. That's not, you just didn't just break one, you broke two. And then
Yeah,
so
and then
now,
that goes against your values,
that
right?
goes against your value. If you say, oh, I'm somebody that like looks after my health, really? Got it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're a coach, right? I'm a coach. What what's so effective about working with a coach and like having this is like it's like we create containers for people to do this because we know it's difficult.
Yes, it is difficult. Very
I
difficult.
know it's difficult to like give up the hamburgers, right? Like
Yeah.
I and to like be like I and even just like the belief of I'm worth taking care of being taken care of. Like that belief takes a while to switch over if you don't have it.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
think most people will be like, I'm not even worthy of a coach. I thought coach are for like, people that earns a lot of money or whatever, right? But it's like, no, the coach actually is there for, well, depending on what level of coach, but of course there's coaches for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not even like one is better on another. It's like most coaches really genuinely just want to see people do their best at their area of expertise. And the sharing of the stories is what helps people, right? It's like, oh, okay, that person will really understand because they've gone through a similar thing or has gone through something similar that's like in my life, so they can see the parallel of that. It's like, oh, okay, she found her way out. There's hope, or she knows the way. Like she can help
Yeah.
me navigate out of out of where they are sooner. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to say one thing is like we have both gone to the extremes and have brought ourselves back to the middle. And so now it's like, okay, now what? um, you found this really good medium where and you also achieve financial independence, right? So like now you don't have to focus so much on the money and now you can focus on purpose.
Right.
Whereas for me, it's like I already had my purpose. I needed the money. Now
Yes.
it's about coming back and now I can reinforce my purpose with some money making. And that's great. And like the thing is like I've really needed to let go externally what that looks like because I'm not going to give up my purpose. And so sometimes that might look like I'm not doing a successful job or like a very high paying corporate job. I'm just doing a job on the side to make money as I carry out this purpose and being completely okay with that. because
Yeah.
that's like the karmic lesson that I've needed to learn is like, you don't need to be superstar. Yeah,
It's
all the
kind of
time.
funny when we are, you would get burnout in both scenario when your life is not balanced and not aligned to your value. I love that. How do people go to find their value if they unclear about it?
How do people go to find their value? Like their inherent self-worth or
Yeah.
their or what their
Well,
values are?
step three, right? Step three is their value, right? Getting clear on their value. How do they do
Okay.
that?
So I would say values, right? There's plural in here
Uh-huh.
because this is more about the values part is more about what's important to you.
Yes.
And I love brain dumps. So what I would do is I would recommend doing a brain dump. This is what actually came to me this morning is that we have a whole set of values and convictions. We have convictions which are just beliefs about how life should be,
Yeah.
right? And you can write like 100 of them. You could take inventory and see like I have this value of independence because I have this value of freedom because. Now, you can take them or leave them, right? You could see like, oh, maybe this isn't really aligned with what I have. I can just take this out now. Then there are also going to be the values that you hold that are edgy. So the what I mean by this is that you hold them and probably not a lot of people around you hold them, and so you're scared to actually embrace it.
Oh, yeah, I like this.
Yeah. Those are the values that are probably linked to your karma. Those are the values that you probably are feeling called to uphold but you are held back by fear because you're afraid of what other people might think if you actually started embracing that.
I think
Okay,
we're
so yeah, if
heading
you
onto the good stuff now.
so if you really want to find your purpose and you are not afraid of doing it, that's where to start. Is
Look for
looking
your
at
edgy values, guys. Yeah. Okay. Um, if they want to find out more about this,
yes.
how to reclaim their energy, not have the burnout, all of that, what's the best place to find and connect with Valerie?
Fantastic. So I have my website, thevibrantvisionary.com. From there, I have my signature method. It's called the Vibrant Visionary Blueprint. I have a free guide that you can download or you can start to understand a little bit of the philosophy. And I also have my own podcast, From the Ashes. So if you want to check out a little bit more of my work, you are welcome to check out those resources. And then I'm always available to be contacted as well. And we can talk to see what else we can
Amazing.
uncover. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Yes. Thank you, Karms. I had a lot of fun.
Excel in life, live your purpose, be free.